It is a massive big trunk. Look at this trunk.
Oh, hey, hi, this is Jelle, growing bonsai. This is a cherry tree, and this cherry tree was in a field until about a year ago. I came across an area where they're removing all the trees, and I decided to ask,
Wait, you're cutting down trees?
can I have a look at the stumps that are left over? They said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So in the evening I returned and I looked for some trees. Let's take a look what happened there. And meanwhile I'll continue wiring this out and give it a first styling. This is all about collecting Yamadori, finding nice trees, and of course where this beauty came from.
Look at that. This whole area has been chopped down, nothing left but dead branches and a few stumps. Who knows, maybe this is an opportunity for the Yamadori hunters. Let's have a look. What can we find? Not sure. It looks a little bit like a wild cherry or something like this. But if we go down and down and down, lots of damage. But then, look at all that movement there. This might actually be an interesting tree to pick up. So normally I would be able to tell what this is, but now I really have no idea, except for it is a massive big trunk. This looks interesting. Just don't know. Will it backbud? Can actually get it out. That's a good sign. Fresh roots. And of course, close the hole. Now it is a matter of cutting them in pot. Look at this trunk. Probably going to be in a pot like this. I am planning on cutting it off here, or maybe even here, and then planting it in, cutting these roots shorter and using the fact that there's lots of fine roots closer to the trunk. Now this one, I was hoping to put in this one, but just look at the root spread, that's not going to fly. So I'm going to go for this one. The good thing is it still has substrate in it from the last repotting. I am going to have to cut back the big roots a little bit, plant it in, and then just leave it for a season to see how it ends up. Sun is setting. It's getting colder. I want to get this over with.
That's not good. Great.
That looks pretty good. That looks like it fits. Wire over the root, through the pot and tightened. Here and there, so it cannot fall over. It's early summer. I think it's fair to conclude. This twisty one, it's not going to make it. Such a shame. I'll pull it out of the pot to see whether there's anything there from the roots, but I don't think anything will live. This one is living, and the very big one, it's sitting under my table. I'm not going to break my back, but that's also growing, and I'm just letting it grow for the rest of the season. And clearly, it is a cherry. It's one of the wild cherries native to my region. This can now get a lot more sun, starting to push. Roots will have recovered. Now it's a matter of boosting it up, and later in the year I can work on it. When I started this channel, I promised myself to try and be honest about successes, but also failures. So there you go. I'm not going to edit this tree out, but over the last 2-3 weeks it has started to yellow, dry out, and now there's pretty much no life left in. So this one did not make it. Such a shame, because it really is a very nice base for a cherry. One that I've not seen very much in this form. But well, guess this one can go in the bin. This here is all sap that is coming out of the trunk. And here a very big lump of sap, and that's usually an indication of something living in the trunk. As systemic insecticides are banned in Europe, there's not much I can do except for hope that this will go away by itself and I don't have a big problem next year. Just let nature sort it out. Right, I didn't want to spoil too much. We're in the middle of the growing season, but I think the last one that I collected, I think it's doing alright. Can you tell? Can you tell what's growing here in between? Now normally you can't see what's happening here, but this is the big trunk that I collected earlier this year. Look at it. It's everywhere. Moment of truth. Let's have a look and see how this tree has recovered. Make some space here. Looks like a pretty good recovery to me. Now in the final design I don't want any branches low down on the trunk, so let's just remove all of this growth here. Now if you look at the upper trunk, this branch is higher up than this branch, so this is going to be a new leader. This tall one helped in recovery, but no longer needed. I'm going to keep this side branch as a side branch. I'm going to keep a few side branches in the back, but I'm going to remove a lot of this dead stuff here in the back, cleaning it all up. With that, I could say this has recovered, it has rooted. It is a wild cherry. This I can now give a little bit of shape, and then next year I'll look in the full styling of it. But for now, this has recovered, ready for the second year. Use the stub here as an anchor. And then I can just wire this out. This is 4 millimeters, I think. Just gently, doesn't need to be all that tight. It really is for an initial shape so that the main trunk isn't all that straight. That's all I'm gonna do. The rest can all happen next year. Just, of course, this stump needs to be worked on, it needs to be reduced. But I first now want to get the tree settled in. It has recovered from digging up. The roots are quite nicely established now. And in spring or in the middle of winter I'll look a little bit more at the stump. But I'm just going to let it do its thing for now. And do the full proper wiring next year. One of the things that you see here is that the damage that was done by the machines when they were collecting the trees has now started to recover. The bark is starting to grow over the damaged areas, and here some interesting patterns are starting to emerge. So I really am not going to do all this much. I really want this tree to survive and keep this pattern, keep the bark alive here, here, here. This tree still has a lot of growing to do before it is ready for a nice pot. And I'm just wiring out these young branches now to set them in the right angles and then let it grow for the rest of the year. As said before, the tree first needs to get a lot of strength before I can do a lot of work on them. This is just setting branches. This stump I'm not going to do anything on yet. I'm going to let this strengthen a lot more before I really do anything. But these branches are now young, flexible and thin, allowing me to just shape them in quite interesting shapes, and therefore I don't have to use thick wire later on, and I can now just put everything in position for the future. Don't worry too much about the length of the branches right now at this stage, because it still will be cut back a lot of times before it goes into a pot. This is really about the initial part of the branch. The long part of the branch is also not going to stay around all that long. But you see, these branches are now, in this time of the year, they're almost like butter. You can just wire them, shape them, whichever form you want. Try to make the bends not all too regular. Go in every single direction with short curves and longer curves to make it look a little bit natural. As if the branch was seeking for light as it was growing. And keep in mind, it's not all that critical at this stage, because eventually a lot of this will still be cut off. I think this is not all that bad for a tree that hasn't been out of the ground for a year. I do realize I need to buy myself a bigger backdrop, otherwise I can't show it, and the wind is getting way too strong. I need to remove this camera from the garden. This is not going to work anymore. Thank you for watching. This was Jelle, growing bonsai.